Welcome to We Come From The Future, a podcast about inspiring people from the future. Today, we've brought a living legend from the future. He is one of the most popular Spanish entrepreneurs with an impressive track record. In January 2013, he founded Clidrive in Madrid, the leading AR car financing platform. How does it work? Clidrive connects car owners with financial institutions to access affordable consumer banking loans using their car as collateral. A very smart move. In its first fiscal year, Clidrive achieved 10.6 million euros in revenue. It's a record in Spain. Pablo Fernandez Alvarez became a success story in the Spanish entrepreneurial universe. He's also the president of Clikalia, the #1 residential real estate platform in Europe and Mexico, with over 1,500 employees. The company raised 460 million euros in the largest financing round ever for a Spanish startup. And that's not all. Previously, he co-founded Clicars, Spain's #1 e-commerce platform for buying used cars. Pablo has also invested in over 100 startups. He studied at Harvard Business School and worked at Boston Consulting Group and Santander Bank. Pablo doesn't just love business, he loves water too. He's a competitive swimmer with 6 Guinness World Records in marathon swimming, including the longest ocean swim, 250 kilometers, and the fastest 100 kilometers unassisted ocean swim. That's crazy, really crazy. Pablo not only earns money, but also donates it through the Click Foundation and serves on the board of Endeavor Spain. He is in Romania at the invitation of Endeavor Romania, to whom we thank for the opportunity to interview such an amazing businessman like Pablo Fernandez Alvarez. Pablo, welcome to the future. We will talk about business, about your success stories and so on, but there is something I'm very intrigued about. I mean, you are dealing a lot with water. You are swimming a lot. You spend a lot of time in the water. What is water to you?
For me, water it's a place where I can fly. I feel weightless. So it's a place where I can forget about issues at the business, personal issues. I'm free. I fly, and for me, it's my escape room to all the problems. And it's also my passion. So sometimes I consider myself more like a swimmer than a business person, because it really defines who I am. But it's a way to fly, no, and go to the future.
What did you learn in the water and bring it into the business you are doing?
Well, first is that 70% of the world's surface is water. But we don't see what's below. We only see what's on the surface, right? So something that I learned is that sometimes you need to look. People only look at the surface, right? And then they look what's below. And that happens the same with businesses, no? People only look, oh, this is so nice, so success, but they don't look at all the harder, the hassles, all the problems, no? And it's everything like the ocean, no? You think, oh, it's so beautiful, but then below there are jellyfish, there are sharks, it's cold, there are other animals. So, but no, but for me, water, it's actually where I feel safe, where I feel at home. No, for me, it's kind of like a safe place.
It's not just a small patient. I mean, you have 6 Guinness records. I mean, it's something, for me, it's crazy. I mean, really, I'm very impressed. I'm really very impressed.
Yeah, well, sometimes it started like my father was a professional soccer player in Spain. I have 5 brothers and sisters, so we all play soccer. And at a point, the doctor said I have an injury in the knee and I couldn't play soccer, so I was very unhappy. And he said that the only sport that I can do is swimming. And I went to a swimming club in Spain, and they discovered that I was very good at long distance swimming, and I float like a lot. This is why I feel weightless, because I don't sink. So I started with swimming long distance, like the Strait of Gibraltar, Manhattan Island, like all these famous crosses around the world. But it's like then I discovered that I could do like 1 kilometer more, 1 stroke more, and little by little, I was pushing myself until these world records in terms of distance or speed. But everything starts with, it's like a start. Everything starts with the first dive, the first stroke, and then it's like 1 stroke at a time. You keep increasing until, well, the sky is the limit, no?
Sounds a bit like a startup. I mean, you in the beginning you have a problem to solve, your need, and then you have the swimming as a solution to help your body to fix the problem. And it's the same in business. I mean, when you think about a startup, what is doing a startup? It's looking for a problem on the market and trying to solve it. Tell us about your businesses. How did you begin your entrepreneurial adventure, and how did it happen?
Yeah. So before becoming an entrepreneur, I lived for 10 years in the US. So I went there for working in investment banking, consulting, and business school. So I lived the American dream. So I was able from a very young age to progress in my career. So I was making money, having connections. And then the most important thing, I got in touch with very successful entrepreneurs. And I think the US helped me to broaden my perspective. I was coming from Spain where there were no unicorns, and then you go to New York, you go to Boston, to business school, and then your world changed. You see amazing people smarter than you that are building amazing businesses. So it was contagious. So I actually, after 10 years there, I said, I need to come back to Spain. So I was working at that point at Santander Bank, that is the leading car financing company in the world. And then I saw a company called Carvana that was selling cars online. Now Carvana is worth more than 50 billion in NASDAQ. But at the time it was the first company in the world starting to do this. So I said, maybe I could do this in Spain because I know about car financing. So I quit Santander and I launched in 2016 Clicars. That was the first company that I was very lucky that the product market fit was immediate. We did 5 million the first year, then 15, 30, 65, 210, 330, and 500. So it went like skyrocket. But in this process, I was very blessed to become endeavor entrepreneur and being inspired by other entrepreneurs. It helped me to push forward, right? Because there's always like a bigger fish in the ocean. Even if you think, even reaching those levels, like we have like 700 employees, 500 million revenues. But I have as an investor now in Clikalia, Sergio Furio, who runs a company that is 5,000 employees, billions in valuations, or Guillaume Pouchat from Checkout, who is one of the most valuable private companies in the world. So I think it's always look to look upwards and push yourself to get the best, no? And look at the best people. No?
I'm happy you are here talking about this because the people who are listening to us, I hope they will be inspired by your story. I think really it's very important to be inspired in time when it's an opportunity for you to evolve. I remember I spent about few weeks in New York, and since the first minute I landed, even the air in New York was different from the European one. I don't know what happened there, but you can feel in yourselves that the American dream, I mean, you can really feel that it's possible to make business, to build something, to dream about something, make it real. What the experience, the American experience meant to you? I mean, it's a special place with special people. What did you take from there and bring it to Spain in order to build your businesses?
Yeah. So one thing is, as you said, the speed. I remember when I arrived to New York from the airport and I get into the subway station and everybody's like running. They're not walking. So I was like, oh shit. And you feel like you cross the street and everyone is like running. And it's like, so your mindset is like, okay, if I don't work my ass, these guys are going to eat me alive. So that's one thing. Like you have that peer pressure that people are very hardworking. The other thing is dream bigger. Like in the US, everything is much bigger. So you think you have a nice business in Romania or Spain, and then you go to the US and they say like, I have a nice small business, but these guys has very. So it's like this dream bigger. And then something that I like about the US and we have to learn in Europe is that there's an admiration to success and wealth. And that has to do with the origin of wealth. Like if you look in the US, 70% of the billionaires are self-made billionaires. They were not born rich, right? In Europe, it's like 50% because we have like a lot of aristocracy, inheritance. And in some countries, some people could say that money comes from corruption, from political transitions in history. And if you go to Asia, 80% of the billionaires are self-made. So that tells you a lot about the perception of wealth. That's changing right now. And now in Spain, we have people like Amancio Ortega from Inditex or Florentino Perez, ACS. Like we have like people who came from nothing and built wealth, and that can become an inspiration, no, for people like me, that I come from a very humble family in one of the poorest neighborhoods in Madrid. I never went to a private school or university. I always went to with the scholarships, and it's possible, no? The American dream. In my case, it was also the Spanish dream. No, it's possible with hard work, obviously some luck, and people helping you. And that's something that I really admire about the US. No, that is they really. I don't know if you do it in Romania, but in Spain, we use the term like healthy envy. No, but envy is never healthy, right? Admiration, it's healthy. So I think we need to learn to admire success.
A good lesson, yes. So you started your first business, and what happened after your first business, your first startup?
Yeah, so the business grew very fast, and then we got acquired by Stellantis, the European largest car manufacturer, old PSA. So they make us a good offer in cash, so we sold the business. And then what happened at this point? Many entrepreneurs or many business, they sell the business. It's like, look, I'm going to retire. I'm going to the beach, and I'm not going to work anymore. But in my case, I really love starting things. I love, for me, it's like a game. No, it's like when you play Monopoly and you win, you want to start again, no, from scratch. So for me, it was like, okay, let's just start again. But obviously, you start with more capital, with more knowledge, with more contacts. So this is when, with my co-founder Alistair, we launched Clikalia, the #1 real estate platform. But in this business, I was not executive. I was president and shareholder. So I decided to launch a third business where I could become CEO again, because I really love running businesses. And this business is the last business. Clidrive is still very small, 18 months in the making, more than 20 million cumulative revenues, profitable, 50 people. And yes, I don't know what the future will look like, but very excited about it. And this is where at Endeavor, what we call the multiplier effect. No? So entrepreneurs that start one company, then second, then the third one, that they invest in the ecosystem. I have invested in many companies. And also very important that out of the 3 companies I have co-founded, 72 employees have started their own businesses, right? And I want this number to be more than 100 in next year, because there are many employees with projects, and I have financed almost half of them, no, as an investor. So for me, this is a multiplier effect. No, I like what you do, like a little thing, and then you spark some fire, and I see that something like this happens in other ecosystems. For example, in Argentina, the first Endeavor company was Mercado Libre, no, that now is the most valuable company in Latin America, and more than 400 employees have started businesses. So I think this is, Romania somehow also needs that. You need to have like big startups that are a source of new entrepreneurs and human capital, no, for the ecosystem.
You've been invited to Romania by Endeavor Romania, and you were dealing these days with Romanian startups. How do you feel in this country? How do you feel it? Because there are countries you feel at home from the first day, and there are countries that are very different of your own country. But we are from a common space, which is the Latin space. How is your story with Romania?
That's funny that you asked this, because, and this is how I'm feeling right now, and I'm feeling with these days. I feel like I'm talking to Spaniards in a different language, in English. No? because we have a lot of things in common, no? And so that's one thing from a cultural perspective. The other thing that I saw is that Romania, it's at a point where probably Spain was 15, 20 years ago. 10 years ago in Spain, there were no unicorns. Now we have 18. 10 years ago in Spain, the investments in the startups was around 400 million per year. Now it's 4 billion. So all the metrics about the ecosystem is growing. But it takes, there's an inflection point, and now there needs to do like a lot of work. And at some point, some companies will emerge. And I was lucky in these days to meet around 10 companies, companies that are between 1 and 5 million revenues, growing very fast, that they could become large companies. No? So they're like in this magical moment where they have like 20 to 40 employees. They already prove the market fit. But now the challenge is to scale. You know? And that's a mindset change. How do you go from a nice small business to a large business? No? And I saw people are willing to make that move. And I also see an opportunity with the millions of Romanians that live abroad. Like if you manage to convince them to come back with capital and knowledge and to start businesses, I think that would be huge. Like it was my case. I was in the US for 10 years and then I came back to Spain with that knowledge and capital to launch businesses. So I think you can also attract that talent.
What is important for a small startup being born on the market in order to scale? Is there a secret? Is there a recipe? What should we do in order to build your startup in order to scale up? I see a lot of young startups coming on the Romanian market. What would make their difference? What should be their drive on the market?
Yeah, well, I wish there was a secret, no? Because otherwise we'll just cut and paste. But I think it's important as an entrepreneur to get mentor or investors, board members, business angels. I mean, people that have been entrepreneurs and have done it before to coach you and tell you what you do, right? So I approach entrepreneurship in a very similar way to sports. Like a professional athlete is disciplined, he trains, he finds the best coach, the best doctors. So as an entrepreneur, you have to do that also, no? You have to find who is the best mentor, no? Who have done it before, right? And ask for feedback, no? So I am a swimmer, but I'm still looking to improve. And as I was coming to Romania, the Endeavor team was very kind to connect me with David Popovici, and we met yesterday. And I was asking, but how do you swim? What do you do this? And we were talking about the techniques, and I learned, right? Because he's now one of the world's best swimmers right now. And so I think you need to take an opportunity to learn from people that have been there. And so that's one thing. The other thing is many entrepreneurs talk about scaling up the business, but they don't talk about scaling up themselves. So as an entrepreneur, you also need to change and scale up. And it's not the same skills to be the CEO or founder of a 10 people company than a 100 people company or 1,000 people company. No? So you need to be humble and recognize that you need to evolve as an entrepreneur and have that flexibility. The other thing is team. Sometimes the teams that brings you from 0 to 1 is not a team from 1 to 10 or 10 to 100. So you have to help the teams transition and find the right talent. And then third is capital. There's some businesses that are generating cash flow and they grow organically. That's great. But the other businesses, or if you want to grow at a certain pace, you need outside capital. So, and that's something that has to do with the ecosystem, right? So when I started my first company in Spain, there were only like 3 or 4 VCs. Now there are more than 20 VCs, and the international VCs were not investing in Spain. Now the international VCs are investing. So I think you need to attract capital, to attract people and talent. And then you need to unlearn what makes you successful on the first place, because it's a different animal. It's a different company. And you need to enjoy the journey, because there are some entrepreneurs that only enjoy the early days of building the product. But then when it becomes like a large corporate, they don't like it. They don't like to scale. It becomes boring. It becomes like more, because let's face it. I mean, at the beginning, you are like with the team doing everything. And then you become more like a leader, an executive. But sometimes so this is why some entrepreneurs, they step out as a CEO, and maybe they become head of technology or product or branding. So I think you need to be humble to put yourself in the role more beneficial to the company. You will always be the founder, owner, wherever. But sometimes it's a good decision to have a strong COO that can help you with operations, with finance. So knowing what your position is and enjoying that, it's also very important.
You built a business called Clidrive. I'd like to talk about Drive, but in another way. I mean, you talk about the need of growing internally, not only in your business, because you as a founder, you need to grow as well with the business. But what would be this internal drive that allows you to grow inside yourself in order to grow your business? What would be that drive?
I think for me, it's the feeling that it's never good enough. No? That sometimes we celebrate a lot, and particularly startups will celebrate. Oh, we made our first customer, our first 10 customer, our first 1,000 whatever, the first million. Okay, that's good, no? But at the end, it's like you need to keep pushing yourself. Do not become complacent. So you need to be always like looking at how can I improve. And I like about, sometimes we talk about the outputs, the revenues, money raised, exits, but this is an output. I like the input, like what do you do to get there? And this is about product release, is about getting more leads, increasing the conversion ratio, efficiency, doing much with more, A/B testing constantly, pivoting, being very flexible. The other thing is having like a more, how do you communicate across the organization? No? So how do you avoid creating a lot of committees? How can you, as a founder, you can have a direct line with customers, no, and the product, and get customer feedback. But as always, I think there's not that's the good and the bad thing about entrepreneurship. But there's not a manual, no, to follow. And I think for me, what has worked is try to learn from other people. So advice that I give to entrepreneurs is like put in your cap table in your company investors, like business angels who have done it before. People that can tell you how to do it, what to do it, that you can give them a call whenever there's a problem. Because it's a lonely journey. You're going to be facing with thousands of decisions. The other thing is pick up like a good co-founder, someone that you trust, and someone that could even be your friend, because you are going to spend more time with him or her than with your partner. So I think that's very, very important. And be resilient. Like if starting a company is very hard in terms of the hours that you need to put and the level of stress. So this is why I think about entrepreneurship like as a sport, like competitive sport, because you need to. You're facing with a lot of stress, a lot of decisions, a lot of hours. So you need to be mentally fit and physically fit, no? To also address those things. But having said that, there's no like a secret sauce. I think you just need to start and then keep learning along the journey. No?
We approach the end of the interview. Time flies. What is your personal alchemy that brought you here? I mean, in the past you made some choices that brought you in your present day. You already talk about the link between sport and business. You are a performance man in swimming. What would be other choices you made in your life that brought you in the entrepreneurial field?
So probably it was not my choices, but it was my family choices. Like my parents were missionaries from the church, so I learned from them that you need to follow not the money, not cosmetic success, but you need to follow a mission. Like be a missionary, not a mercenary. You know? Like try to be useful for the world. And enjoying the journey, because the result we don't know. We could die tomorrow. All the businesses could die tomorrow, but enjoy every single moment, every single day, as if it was the last one, and take it as a game. I mean, let me finish. There's in the Bible. There's one piece that tells that we all receive some talents. Some people receive 1, 2, 5, 10. Our job in life is to multiply these talents. If you got 1, it's okay, get 2. But if you get 2, you need to get 4. Or you need to, so, and life is not fair. Sometimes you are born in a wealthier family or in a wealthier country or with disease or non-disease. So that's true. The life is not fair. But whatever we are given, we have an obligation to leave the world with a little bit more talents that they gave us.
One last question. How do you feel here at We Come From the Future?
No, so I feel like a very futuristic place. And I've been listening to some of your podcasts and the work that you are doing. So I really like it. Having said that, I have a last question for you. Like, because when I think about the future, I struggle to imagine the future. No, so why did you come up with this idea? How do you come up with this? Welcome to the future.
Many people think that we come from the future is just a metaphor, but it's not a metaphor. It's just physics and mathematics. The people connected to technology, they live in another time in the future, compared with the people who are disconnected from the technology. So the idea of this podcast, We Come From the Future, is that we are connected to the technologies. We're living at another speed compared to the others, but it's our mission to go back to these people, to bring them to our present, which is their future. That's why I call this We Come From the Future, and we invite people like you who are coming from the future for most of our audience in order to bring the audience there in your present, which is their future. It's simple.
Oh, thank you for the explanation, and thank you for the interview.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbie, for coming to We Come From the Future. Let yourself be inspired by this incredible man who comes from the future to guide us there too. You can learn more about him at his personal website, pablofernandez.com. You can find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I'm Miral Brand, and I look forward to seeing you on We Come From the Future. Stay well, and don't worry, we come from the future and everything will be fine.